fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today, talking about one of my new favorite officers in the game. Yes, you guessed right, Tindy, which hopefully most, if not almost all of you unlocked through the May Completionist Trophy event, where you were able to just progress along and recruit Tindy if you completed basically every day. And there was even a couple of overlap trophies where extra was given out and they just decided to allow that to stay in the game. So hopefully many of you are able to unlock Tindy. Now, one of the reasons that you should be excited about this is Tindy is one of those officers that from the get-go is immediately one of the best officers in the game. Comment if you disagree, but I don't really see how you can disagree even after we go through the video today. If you still disagree, let me know why, because I believe that she is one of the few officers that comes in this game that is good at level 1, tier 1 for everybody, and I want to explain why, which by the way, is a video I'm actually working on. And if you want to drop your suggestions for those officers, feel free to drop those below. But a video I have upcoming will be discussing officers that are good immediately, because let's be honest, not all of them are. I mean, you look at an officer even like Spock, who we talk about having shield regen being so big for the 20s and 30s players, but really at rank 1 he's terrible. A 75% shield regen Spock is not really worth anything. So it matters what tier and what level those officers are, particularly what tier they are. The officer level just going to denote the stats that come with it, but tier being very important. So an officer like Tindy, or to give an older example, Harrison, good right out of the gate. And I think that's kind of why you're going to see myself, Ultimate DJ, a lot of other content creators really hyping up Tindy. Not that we're just, trying to push you to this new officer, but that it has that level of value. And we'll go over some, examples of that. But first, let's actually go into our officer menu, sort by group, scroll all the way to the bottom where the newest officers are kept. And Tindy should be your final one there on the bottom right. So we'll go over the basics of her abilities as well as stats. And then we'll actually go over using Ripper's STFC.space to show you how it'll level up when she levels up. So remember, none of the lower deck officers have a captain's ability. It's literally pointless to put them as a captain. The ability is called unfit to lead for a reason. If you put them as a captain, it's not going to do anything. So make sure you're not putting them in as a captain, because that's going to be a fail. And you'll probably end up in a bad crew video, which, what's the date? Yeah, we got like one in a week and a half coming. So Yay Friends is the officer ability. We don't really focus on officer abilities too much with the lower decks. Their value is completely in them being lower deck officers. However, D'Vana Tendi increases the health of all officers on the ship by 5%. If you remember, officers like Rutherford and Boimler and Mariner all have officer abilities that work in similar ways, many of them being stat boosting officers, but not giving a very high percentage of stat boost. And then last but not least, but more importantly, Fix It Right Up, the under deck ability at tier 1 increases the ship's whole health by 75%. Now, why is this valuable, and why do you have content creators like myself going absolutely bananas over it? Because the truth is, in the game, there are not a lot of researches that affect hull health, as in increasing hull health. You do have that officer bonus that you get when you are running your ship and you're putting officers down in those slots to try to grow that bonus, but there's not a lot of research that applies this. So when you have a research, which is effectively what this officer ability is, or this below deck ability is, that works like a research, well, you're going to see a pretty significant impact. So let's actually translate on over and see what this reads as. So this is from STFC.space. Once again, if you've never seen that website, I know I say it really quickly, so let me just slow down. STFC.space. That's where we have a plethora, basically almost anything, missions, officers, ships, whatever you're looking for is probably there. Ripper's done a fantastic job creating that resource and providing it for all the Star Trek Fleet Command players. So anyway, here is our kind of just in general about Tindy, going over everything. You see her Yay Friends ability will go from 5% to maxing out at 30% at a tier 5. And then more importantly, the Fix It Right Up going from 75 to 215%, where it will basically equal the bonus that a tier 2 ship would get to with an officer bonus. Now, if you don't understand what that means, don't worry. That information is not necessarily that important to remember. Just a random tidbit that I thought of as we were filming. So you've got, the 200%, well, 215, 300, 500, depending on the tier of the ship that y'all have gotten used to. So let's back out real quick and get a visual example of how Tindy looks. Now, I want to also point out that many of you have been asking, well, I can't see any of the lower deck officers working because I don't see them in battle logs. Are they actually doing anything? The answer is yes. Now, for the moment, and we can ask Star Trek Fleet Command to maybe work on this, for the moment, you do not have any of these officers actually show up in a battle log, and maybe that would make it easier to have Tindy show up, but she is in fact working, and there's a simple way that we can kind of find that out. So I encourage you to pick a ship. I'm going to use a lower level ship so that you can see the actual health numbers there on the right side. So if we actually go in here, you see I've got Spock, Kirk, Zhao, which is honestly not too uncommon of like a 20s and 30s level player setup. Obviously, I would not run Spock on like my Valdor or my Enterprise or anything, but I'm using a Vidar as an example. So this is a completely acceptable run depending on what the player has. You're getting boosted mitigation and shield regen. And then underneath, I've got McCoy. You see my bonuses over here. I've got 245% health bonus. That's something to pay attention to because that also helps increase your whole health, which is something that we'll be looking at with Tindy. And then if I sort by group, I can have Tindy right down here. So let's go back out and see what the actual stat is for that number. So if we scroll right here, we see our whole health is at 214,000 currently. Currently at 214,000. That's just based on everything that we've got currently going on with our bonuses and with our officers. Now let's jump back into that same window, hit assign officers. And if we go and attach Tindy right here, you see it's not going to change any of my bonus, but let's see what it went to. So now we're at 227. I like it. That's a 13,000 increase. That's a pretty significant chunk of hull. Is it the biggest chunk in the world? No. We are adding from base stats. There is research. There's other things that are going to apply here, but you're seeing an immediate impact onto the Vidar. Now let's swap it out. Let's say if we didn't want to use Tindy and we actually just wanted to go to the next health, and I'm just going to throw on a health officer like Eurydice. Eurydice knocking us up to 280%. Well, what is that going to look like when we go over here into our whole health, 220? See, significantly lower. Let's actually go higher. Look, hey, not everybody can stat stack like a higher level player can, so I'm trying to be, a little bit pickier with the officers that I'm choosing. But let's even put in my Nero. Nero very heavy, 315. Significant boost there, 226. Still lower than what Tindy provided me, even though I have a pretty drastic jump in the bonus that I'm getting from my hull based on officer stats. I went up to 315 from the 70. But if I put Tindy back there, where's Tindy? Right there. Hit accept and come back. 227. Now, keep in mind that there are other things that's playing into that. You look at the attack bonus, the defense bonus, and if I was to sort by group and go health and put Nero back up there, I'm also getting an attack boost I'm not getting from Tindy. Now, we'll say this. One thing I absolutely love to do with the lower decks is if you can already reach 300%. So we're going to discard this real quick. I'm going to swap this out to a ship that has max tier. So let's just say my Saladin. I'm going to go down here. If I can fill out the bottom, what I want to do is hit 300% and then always have my lower deck officers at the end unless, and I say this all the time, unless I am using an officer that boosts stats. Now, let me clarify this because this gets asked to me a lot. Does it matter to have past 300%? So you see 5,000 got me to 300% on all of mine. No. Having that over there does nothing for you unless an officer draws from that stat. Example, Spock for shield regeneration pulls from the defensive stats of officers. Zhao pulls from the defensive stats of officers to boost mitigation. So having a defensive stat here of 15,000 matters, but not to the ship, to the officer. Once you hit these 300% bonuses, it doesn't actually do anything for you. So in this regard, having Tindy right here is an immediate jump above my 300%, giving me more whole health than I would have normally had before. And then what I would just do is stack defense. And I wouldn't worry about any of my other bonuses. I would just try to get as many defensive points as I could of all my free available officers and go from there. 300% being my goal. But there are going to be instances where Tindy could have more value for you simply by boosting your whole health. And here's why whole health is important and why Tindy is my favorite officer in quite some time. Let me know in the Discord if you agree or disagree. Feel free to join. The link is in the description of this video. Tindy is applicable in any situation. So like Rutherford is an officer that I like. DJ actually had a great stream on Twitch where he was showing some of these officers off and showing them in use. I like Rutherford, but I don't love Rutherford for every situation. And what I mean by that is he gives you a shield bonus. Unless you know your shields are going to fail, that shield bonus doesn't have as much value. But here's where it would. And and we'll have a Rutherford video, but armadas, PvP. Obviously, there are some situations there where you'd want more shield health to guarantee your shields don't go down. But if you're using, say, Pipe Moro Chin, and you're hunting hostiles for rep, or you're hunting Borg probes for active nanoprobes, even in your Stella, you don't need more shields because your shields are never going to go down. Remember, shields always do the same thing. 80%, 20%. They're going to stop 80% of any non-mitigated damage, not counting what officers you're attacking. So Rutherford, very valuable in certain situations, but Tindy is valuable no matter what. Everywhere, PvP, PvE, armadas, doesn't matter what you're doing, Tindy works and works well to give you extra hull health, which can simply translate to 1 more round, 2 more rounds in a fight, or maybe you can translate to you getting, a dozen more hostile kills depending on where you're at. That's the value of Tindy, and that is why she's immediately become one of the most important officers to have for all players. And I really hope that we get some better sourcing for low-level players to have her. And when I mean low levels, teens, 20s, because you can start working on that process in your refinery for the Cerritos. For those that don't remember, your Cerritos refinery does give you, officers. So if I click this right here, you'll see I've got all my officers, including Tindy, in here. But Tindy has incredible value, works off the base of your ship, but this is one of those times where sometimes that's okay. And it certainly is here. And I'm curious to get what all of you think down, yep, you heard it right, comment section below. And like I said, for a video upcoming, we have a video focusing on officers that are good right out of the box. And I want to get your opinion on which ones you think and maybe makes into the video. Live long and prosper. Stay safe for the Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks as always for hanging out with us. Yeah, we outie. I'm excited. Star Trek? Yeah.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.